Joining us live from Los Angeles is Noa Tishby. She used to be special envoy for Israel on the issue of anti-Semitism and Israel's delegitimization. She's been a very vocal proponent of the voices against the Jewish people, and especially in light of what happened by the Hamas terrorists on October the 7th. Many of her speeches have been going viral and have been among the most shared. Noa, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for speaking to us here on India Today. How are you doing?
Thank you very much for having me. How am I doing is a loaded question. I am alive and I am healthy and my family is alive and they are healthy, and that is more than I can say to a lot in the Jewish community, both in Israel and in the diaspora. This is a very trying time for the Jewish community and for Western values and for democratic values. This attack on Israel, and I want to make sure that people understand that when we call it a terrorist attack, we usually have in our minds 5, 4, 3, 2, 19 terrorists that are attacking a place or a country. We are talking about a battalion, essentially a military, nearly 3,000 terrorists that have attacked Israel brutally on October 7th, murdering, mutilating, raping, beheading, burning civilians alive. So to answer your question, we are all struggling, but good will prevail. We know that.
Noa, you know, in your speech, I wanted to quote some of those things for you, because you said this isn't just radical Islam, this is radical Islam Nazism. Tell us a little bit more about why you think that, because these are powerful words. This is a place with a great deal of history of conflict since, the end of World War II. Why are you calling it radical Islamic Nazism?
Because that's what it is. I'm going to quote President Obama. He called it the massacre of October 7th. He called it a systematic massacre of Israeli citizens. What occurred on October 7th is bringing back echoes for the Jewish community from generations ago, from thousands of years ago. We have heard the stories of the Holocaust, of Jewish children having to hide in closets, of Jewish children and Jewish mothers being raped, families being ripped apart. This is triggering a generational trauma within the Jewish community that sends us all back directly to Holocaust stories and back to Kishinev and back to thousands of years of the Inquisition and thousands of years back. And what is shocking about this is that it happened, and in the days of the Holocaust, in World War II, the Nazis at least tried to hide what they did. So they knew that they were doing something wrong, and they tried, when they realized that they were about to lose, they tried to take down the places where they burned bodies and where they gassed Jews alive. They tried to break them down. Hamas not only tried to hide it, they were filming it and broadcasting it live on Facebook, going live on Facebook of the people that they were killing while they were killing them. They did this in order not just to massacre Jews and Israelis, but to traumatize us. So this is why I'm calling it radical Islamist Nazism. That's what it is.
Noa, I'm in Israel right now, and I've been here for the last few days. I've been reporting from the front. I've been visiting many of the kibbutzes on the front where much of the damage took place. So, you're right. The barbarity, the cruelty of what happened is beyond debate. But what we see now is an international narrative that appears to be building against Israel. I'm sure you sense it as well. It's one of the reasons why the Israeli Defense Forces took the unconventional decision to get a lot of journalists, including me, to watch unedited footage of what happened on October the 7th. What's your sense of that, this narrative against Israel? Because there is a sense here within the military and the government that this is completely diluting and diverting away from what happened on October the 7th.
So what you're describing is not new. This is not that the media is turning on Israel, it's that the media was always biased against Israel. You have to understand, when the United States decided to go to war against ISIS, and the world really realized that we need to eradicate ISIS, nobody stood with a stopwatch with the United States and the allies and said, when are you done? Are you done yet? Nobody said that. And this is exactly what Israel is experiencing right now, because Israel can do no right. People have a big problem and a lot of biases that are coming from anti-Semitism and from kind of subconscious biases around and against the Jewish people, that they think Israel is the big bad wolf of the Middle East. And they don't understand that Israel had never started a war, and Hamas always broke ceasefires with rockets, and now with this massacre. So Israel was put in a position where we had no choice. Look, you have seen the unedited footage. You know what happened there. I know from people who were there and saw it, or from people who are on the ground, they can't even describe how it was. It was so sadistic. Hamas left Israel no choice, and you cannot compare between this sadistic intentionality of torture and mutilation, rape and burning alive, to the horrific realities of collateral damage of war. Hamas, with this attack, with this brutal attack, declared war not just on Israel, but on their own people, and they sacrificed Gaza. They knew this is coming. So it's Iran decided that they're going all the way with this. They trained Hamas. They've been sponsoring Hamas. Hamas has been Iran's proxy since it was established. This was all planned to provoke Israel to react exactly the way Israel is reacting right now, because Israel has no choice. No country would stand by and tolerate this. No one.
Noah, just a couple more questions. Whenever Israel or anyone from Israel talks of anti-Semitism, critics of Israel will say, you can't take legitimate criticism of Israel and paint it as anti-Semitism. How do you differentiate between the two? How do you argue back when someone says that?
That's a fantastic question. So I don't have a problem with criticism of Israel. I myself was working for the Israeli government as a special envoy for combating anti-Semitism and delegitimization. And then when I didn't like a policy of the new Israeli government, I spoke up against that particular policy, the judicial overhaul. There's nothing wrong with criticizing Israel, politics, politicians. You like Bibi, you like Lapid, it doesn't matter. That is totally fine. What I am speaking up against is delegitimizing Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state, which is where we are at. So Israel is the only country in the world where existence is being questioned. That is the difference. It's okay to criticize policies. There's no problem with that. Israel is a democracy, and it's okay with criticizing itself as well.
I'm entirely out of time, but I just wanted to squeeze in one final question, if my producers will let me know, which is, you talked about Western grooming. We've also seen what's been happening in universities across the United States, from Harvard to UPenn to Cornell and others. What did you think of that? Student society after student society, blaming Israel for what happened on October the 7th. What did you think of that?
Again, this is something that this has been a part of my work for many, many years. This is something that hasn't started today. It started decades ago, and it's been a slow grooming of American hearts and minds to delegitimize Israel's right to exist, to paint Israel as an apartheid state, to paint Israel as the big bad wolf of the Middle East, and to delegitimize its existence. So what happened was decades and decades of this grooming by these movements called BDS and SJP to convince young people that Israel is actually committing a genocide, where this is nothing but a blood libel. That you're on the ground in Israel, it's not true. Israel is a democracy. It's not a perfect country, because no country is, but it's a democracy with checks and balances, with freedom of speech, with human rights, with everything that we love and hold dear. And we're dealing with that versus pure evil, which is Hamas, a terrorist organization that is oppressing its own people. That's what we're talking about. And the grooming that has been happening in our universities have been convincing young Americans and Europeans that Israel is something that it isn't, that Israel is some sort of a monster. And this is what's causing the riots and the demonstrations right now. And I hope Americans are waking up to realize that they have been played, 100% played. And I hope they do before it's too late.
Well, we always hope for peace, and we hope to see some semblance of normality return to a place that's been drenched in violence for way too long. Noa Tishby, it's been very good speaking to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.